What's up, everybody? Wanted to cut an intro to this episode, but first, I think we need to update some stuff. Number one is the fact that I've spent the last hour trying to integrate all of this podcast stuff onto the new platform that I got to start using in June, and it was a disaster. I'm not anywhere ahead of the game. Apparently, this new super dickhead laptop I got doesn't recognize my microphone, and the camera won't turn on. And I've spent an hour on the internet trying to trouble. It knocked out my internet again. As soon as I fired up the laptop, all my internet in my house went off. I still don't have internet on my phone, but apparently I've got it on my TV. So listen, I need some help. If anybody out there can help me with this, or I just need to take it back to where I got it and say, hey, and talk to a nerd and be like, listen, this is what I need to do with this laptop, and it won't let me do any of it. How do we make it happen? So it's a disaster, I think. Starting to get a little anxious about the whole thing because pretty soon I'm going to have to do something different other than cut an episode on my phone. So if anybody out there can give me a hand, let me know. I'll be happy to come to you and bring this piece of shit laptop that I have and all of my stuff and try to figure out how to get it going. The other thing I haven't done is I haven't tried to change platforms, I guess, so maybe I can do that. Maybe Riverside just sucks and I can't use any of my stuff. I don't know. Number two, let's talk about dudes. And I don't mean like men. I mean the shoes. I started wearing them around the house. They're my kids. And I got to tell you, a long time ago, I think I posted on Facebook that if I caught myself wearing boat shoes, I would kick my own ass. And I think that I need to walk that back a little bit. I'm not saying I'll wear these out in public, but they're goddamn comfortable. They're easy to put on. I wear them when I take the kids around. This isn't new to any of you people, I know. And just because I think that doesn't mean that I judge you for wearing them. You wear whatever you want. I'm just saying for me, boat shoes just weren't the thing back then, and I don't know that they are now. They're slightly more useful than flip-flops, which I think are real stupid, and here's why, no offense. Because you can't do anything in them. Like if I need to run towards something or run away from something and I've got flip-flops on, they're absolutely useless. And I know everybody says, well, Jason, I'll just kick them off. Well, that's fine if you're not if you're running on gravel. Shit. But anyway, that's just a side note thing. Nobody really cares about what I think about shoes. I'm just saying the point is that sometimes you say shit 5 years and then 5 years later you think something different, and that's okay. You can change your mind. It's legal. I know the internet will tell you that you are held to everything that you've ever said on social media in the history of your life, and you will be held accountable for that until you're dead. I, however, don't think that's true. Number three. AJ sent me a picture of a t-shirt. It's pretty cool. It says, don't let the hard days win. And I want to say something about that. Like, I don't think that every day we have something difficult in our way. But that's the minority, right? That's usually a small part of our entire day. But if we let that little minority, small part, badness, negative, affect the entire day, then we've lost. You've let the day win, and the day is yours to be had by any way you want. And I probably more often than not, we like the negative things we encounter in that day are very short-lived, but they can really piss us off for the entire day. And I'm just saying, don't let it happen. Some people's days are harder than other people's days, and I totally understand that. I'm talking to the single moms or the newly widowed husbands or the people that, you know, the chronically ill. I'm speaking to the worst case scenario here, but and then trying to contrast it with like people that seem to have it all together. It's all relative, right? So just don't let the day beat you. Find some sort of positive in it, because if today beats you down, then tomorrow's going to beat you down too. Just don't let it happen. All right, let's talk about this episode. I walked into the Brown residence. So Kit is one of our pilots, and I've said it before, probably the most interesting guy that I've ever met, and because he's got a lot to offer. He's super smart, very articulate, got a really good vocabulary. Like he's homegrown. He flies helicopters, right? Like he's seen a lot of shit, done a lot of shit. He's a world traveler. He's killed a lot of big game animals. Comes from a very high achieving, high functioning family. Very competitive. And to top it off, he's just a good dude, which is probably the whole point of this, is that he's just a really good dude. Like, you don't find that very often, I don't think. Like, people that have that much to offer the world, but are simply just good people. And I went to his home, and his wife was there, and she is everything that he has ever said she was. Just a radiant angel of a person in our first interaction. So we talk about a few things in this episode. We want to get an hour. There's much more that I want to extract from him in future episodes, and he's willing to do it. I did ask him to share a cool war story, and it was hard for him to come up with, and we talked about that too, because it's not easy for us with all, and I say us meaning like I'm not a helicopter pilot, nor have I ever done half the cool shit he did. But I'm just saying, like, in the last 20 years, if you were to ask me to come up with a story, it would be hard for me to recall certain things without being triggered to do so. So if we're talking about maybe swimming in a lake, and then I'd be like, oh, by the way, that would trigger but in the context of our conversation, it was. So don't get disappointed on that, because he's got a ton of stories. I just wasn't able to trigger one for him. But I do want to sit down and visit with his wife, because Kit was deployed, and she was raising 2 children, a boy and a girl, stateside, obviously home for 6 months at a time. And I want to get her take on that while her husband was away, flying weaponized helicopters with a cabin full of Navy SEALs, doing the government's work. So I think that would be hugely interesting. So we're going to do that. But anyway, enjoyed today. I know that we have some issues. I have one microphone. We have 2 people. I am louder than he is, and that's not necessarily true. Probably in real life too. So you can hear me more clear than you can hear him, and that's my fault. I just need to get another microphone. But unless I get all this other tech shit figured out, it's going to be a wash. So he offered to redo it, and I'm not going to take up that much time. So you just have to turn it up to hear him. You can still hear him clearly. He's just a little softer spoken. So enjoy, and that's all I got. Work hard, be kind. Bye. Kit Brown's house. Yep. You're live now, buddy.
We are live.
Yeah, this is a long time coming, really, I think.
It is. It's exciting.
Kit is one of our helicopter pilots where I work, and probably the most interesting person that I've ever met. He doesn't seem to think so, because he's super modest.
He hasn't met many people.
That's fair, too. That's fair, too. You just asked me a little bit ago what I want to get out of this episode and what I want to get out of this talk. Here's what I want to get out of this talk. I want to get your backstory. I want you to share a real cool war story. But most importantly, I want to know how you did it in the context of raising a family, becoming a high-achieving person with a high-achieving sibling from a high-achieving dad, and how that resonated through your childhood and how you raise your kids now. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So the introduction of this thing. You're a local guy, Des Moines Public Schools, yep. Went to the University of Iowa.
Yes.
Got a degree in
biology.
Yeah, cool, which is kind of what I wanted to do too, but it is what it is. Then what'd you do with that degree?
Flew helicopters.
There's a lot of organic matter in helicopters.
Yeah, that's a degree where my friends all are now in finance and sales and everything except biology.
Right. Yeah. So there's really it's kind of like 17th century lesbian poetry. Yep. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Got out of the University of Iowa, and then we're actually in the house that you grew up in, right?
True.
And I noticed the tennis court in the back.
Yep.
Played tennis in high school?
I did.
Introduce that from your parents?
I don't know where when that began as a child, but I ended up traveling around, and this is probably part of the story too. As a kid, traveling around the Midwest with some other kids, my parents just sent me off with a coach, and we'd go to Nebraska and Kansas. And
Was it back in the 80s?
back in the 80s, right? And so here I am, 8 years old, 10 years old, traveling around by myself with a bunch of other kids, causing chaos and mayhem, and
Just playing tennis.
just playing tennis.
Graduated from Roosevelt,
Yes.
went to the U, got a degree, and then, so how did you end up in the military?
Right. So then my senior year in Iowa, I had applied for a pilot spot at the Navy Officer Candidate School, got accepted for that, and then
What interest led you to, where'd that come from?
Yep, great. Always as a child been fascinated by aviation.
Yeah.
It's a passion of mine, and so I realized that life could pass you by pretty quick if you don't, if you let it. So I said, now's the chance. Initially, I was planning on going to medical school, like my dad and my brother, but I said, I had a chance to go to flight school. I take that now. I can't.
Where did you get that interest in aviation from? A family member,
No.
TV,
No.
just self-motivated?
Self-motivated. Spent countless hours in this yard playing with model planes and throwing planes around the yard.
There's no story where you looked up in the sky and you saw something and you're like, oh my God, that's what I want to do, and you knew it right then?
No.
Like every Disney
I
movie?
can't put a finger on anything like that for you.
Yeah.
But I come to find out years later that my grandfather did actually own his own plane and was the airport manager before the town of Ankeny existed in Ankeny. Had his own airfield there.
No way.
Yeah. 6 Hour Field was the name of it.
So why go through the University of Iowa first?
As opposed to...
Just jumping right into the military and being a pilot?
Well, you need a college degree to be a pilot in the Navy and or the Air Force. And, I think my mom always said you need a backup plan. And I have a lot of my kids' friends who are going into aviation now because it's starting to pay really well.
Yeah.
Not because they love it, but because it pays well. And I said, you got to have a backup plan. You may not be physically qualified to be a pilot in 3 years from now. So now what are you going to do?
Sure. So you picked the Navy.
Navy.
Went off to the Navy, a Naval Aviator.
That's right.
Where did you train?
That was in Pensacola, Florida. So started off flying airplanes. Then the Navy sent me to fly helicopters. That was the Navy's choice, not mine. But it turned out to be a great thing. So then went and flew helicopters in Florida, chasing submarines, Russian submarines around the Mediterranean Sea, and then came back and then I went to test helicopters in new helicopters out of Maryland, and then after that flew helicopters for supporting special operations in Iraq for 3 years, and they wanted me to stay there for longer, like 3 more years. I said, nah, that's enough. I mean, I really enjoyed that work, but I said that was enough. So I flew planes, big cargo planes around the world for the Navy. Then they asked me to come back to helicopters for special operations support. I said, okay. I transitioned back to helicopters, and then ended up commanding a helicopter squadron in San Diego. And then after that, I went to be on managed day-to-day operations for the SEAL headquarters for SEALs operations around the world. Then I retired.
So in 20 years,
That's it.
that escalated quickly, right? So and there's a lot to get into here.
Oh, sure.
What do you mean test helicopters? Just mean you were
Yeah.
testing the systems on them, or
At that point, it was largely systems. So in the Navy, we have 2 different squadrons that test. We have a developmental test, like they make sure that it's aerodynamically sound, and they send pilots to test pilot school for 2 years, a year and a half, and then you go out and test these helicopters, and then they turn them over to layman pilots like me, say, hey, we test these systems, make sure they integrate, go land on the ships, make sure everything works the way it was designed to work. It should be safe to fly, but testing radar systems to find other ships and missiles, and testing submarines and testing missile warheads and make sure they blow up.
when did you get out of the Navy?
So you got to do 20 years. I did 20 years in one day. that would have been in the end of 2016, October 2016.
And your oldest is 20?
My son?
Yeah.
He's 19 right now.
So you did a lot of this while you were married?
Yeah, so that was Kate, whom you just met. She went to Roosevelt. She and I are high school sweethearts.
Who's, by the way, is as wonderful as everybody makes her out to be.
Yeah, that's the best part of me. So she came down and we got married in between deployments, and then she moved around with me, and then our first child was born while I was at that testing squadron, and then next daughter was born in between deployments in Iraq.
So you were doing wartime missions?
Yes.
Overseas while your wife was stateside raising some kids.
True.
What kind of this is an open-ended question. What kind of challenges, obviously, did that create?
Well, there's all kinds of challenges. I mean,
right.
As single parents, I just can't imagine single parenting a child. I can't handle it with two parents.
Right.
Challenges. Well, I mean, she fell through the attic while I was gone, through stepping on the drywall, and then she got a call and say, "Hey, what do I do to fix the drywall?" And, "Hey, are you okay?" And all that. I mean, those are petty things, but
no, but they're things that you worry about. So we put that in context of like people in my business come off of 24/48s, right? So we're only gone for 24 hours. It's not like we're gone for 6-month deployments, right? Where we worry about the garage door not working while
Sure.
you're on your 24 and how to manage that. It seems insignificant now compared to other people who lose spouses in wartime and who are gone for an extended period of time to raise kids day after day after day without that second set of hands there, right? So obviously Kate did well.
Oh yeah, she's great. Raised the kids, made a house, made a home.
When you came back, how much time did you get between deployments?
It varied. Sometimes it was a year. Sometimes it was 90 days.
Was there challenges when you came back?
Always. I mean, re-assimilating into the real world. I mean, she'd always recall, like, I just wanted to go to the grocery store because you could just pick out anything you wanted, right? Like, there's things you miss when you're deployed, like fresh produce.
Yeah.
And I don't eat a whole lot of fresh produce when I'm home, but when you don't have it, you want it. And then just reacquainting yourself with your spouse and your children.
Sure. Did that bring up some, I don't want to say challenges in
Sure.
your influence among, like, you obviously come from good stock, right? So let's talk about your dad as a high achieving person. He, if I remember right, is one of the first or the first ENT doctor in Des Moines?
I think he was the third. There was 2 others when he got here in the early 70s. There was only 3. I don't know. There's dozens now, I suppose.
Was that self-starting, or did he come from, was your grandpa?
Self-starting. So he was one of 5 children. He grew up just south of Mason City in Rockwell. Put himself through college, put himself through medical school.
What drove that, do you think? Like, he was just that guy that wakes up and says, I'm going to do some hard stuff.
Good question. As other, I don't know.
Competition with his siblings, he wanted a better than what he had.
I think there's some of that. I think that, all his brothers seem to be fairly high achieving. I think they were all fairly motivated. I don't know if that's because they came from modest means and that was an impetus to make you want more and do better.
But probably clearly motivated by the environment, right?
I think so.
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, and my mom too. She was an only child. But the irony here is they grew up next door to each other, literally on 11th Place in the north side of Des Moines. They were neighbors as children, and then ultimately ended up dating there in college, and she worked as a teacher, putting him through medical school, and then had moved around with him.
So they're a power couple.
They did well. If that was a thing.
If that was a thing back then, these are the
Yeah.
2 that you would look to and go,
Sure.
This is, if you want to make it, this is how you make it. Like, you just put your nose down and do the work.
They did, both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so obviously that influenced you and your brother.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think there was a underlying, well, also a direct approach that we were going to put our heads down and work. They were going to make sure that happened.
Who's older, you or him?
My brother is 4 years older than I am.
Okay, so a lot of competition there growing up, probably.
Yeah, he did well, and then I think that obviously gave me pressure to follow in his footsteps and do well.
Did he know early on that he wanted to follow what Dad was doing?
I think he really enjoyed that. I think, I guess I should be clear. My dad went into medicine not to make money, but to help people, which is, kind of alluded to that now with pilots, right? Pilots are now all of a sudden getting paid well, and there's people that are going in aviation that don't love aviation. They just love the money that aviation provides. There's a lot of people going to medicine for the money, but there are people who do it a lot in your profession who do it to actually help people. And I think that's how my dad started. My brother actually wanted to do that as well and enjoys doing that still.
Were there any expectations from your dad? Like, did he always want one of you to follow in his footsteps? Did he let you grow to be who you wanted to be? Was there, I'm trying to look at what the influence, because you're both high achieving people. Mm-hmm. So obviously, to look at your dad as a role model, did he set any sort of expectations for you and him when growing up?
Let me say this. My dad, I think, as a child, provided all the resources. My mom is the one who probably drove the ship day to day. She provided the environment and the impetus to make things happen. She's highly motivated, very vested in our education. To answer your question about my dad, I don't think my dad or my mom wanted my brother or I to go into medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, and people ask me, would you want your son to go in the military? Well, I don't want them to do it because it's something I did. I want them to do it because they want to do it. And I think that happens all too often is you're familiar with what your parents do, so you go do that
right.
Instead of branching out and forging your own path.
We have a daughter that wants to get into education because her mom's an educator, and we're not really in this economic climate. Don't know that that's the best choice. However, if that's something that she wants to follow, that's something she has to follow, right? We have to let her kind of do her own thing with giving her good information at the same time.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. And I got asked this the other day, if I wanted my kids to do what I do. The answer is no. I'm going to do a whole show on that, why I think that is. I do not want them to be up all night for days on end, right. or have to learn how to compartmentalize some of the shit that we've seen and then have to deal with a relationship on top of that and raising kids. I don't want any of it. Just because I did it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Right.
But we get into this job for different reasons. I got into this job the same way your dad did. I just wanted to help people. Yeah. Because I saw other people helping people, and I thought, well, I want to be that guy too. How long did your dad practice?
About 40 years.
And he's still pretty spry right now, right?
Yeah. He's 84. Still very active.
Did he ever lose sight of his goal of helping people through the evolution of the industrial healthcare complex? Did he ever allude to that? Did he ever say, man, I don't know that people are in this for this is a business now?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I saw that transformation occur, but I think it really got exacerbated probably in the last 10 or 20 years. I think it's probably more of a factor for my brother. But during my dad's tenure, that's when the insurance business really took off, and HMOs and networks and
co-pays and co-insurance and deductibles
and now it's being, really inundated with computers and documenting and charting. As you know, we'll do a 20-minute flight it takes you 2 hours to document.
Yeah.
And I think that's been somewhat of a downfall for my dad, but also in my brother in there. But did they ever lose sight of wanting to help people? No. I think sometimes it's just harder to sit through that and be like, am I really helping people? This is frustrating.
I always thought that the worst thing healthcare ever did was decide they could make money on it. And it's turned into the business part of it where it's, not that we're going to get off on this, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
sure, yep.
The business side of it uses people like your dad to make money. Well-intentioned people that are good-natured, that just want to help people, but those people are governed by the people that want to make money at it. And so putting the two together often don't.
Conflict of interest.
Certainly. And then you start throwing around the what's in the best interest of the patient thing, and then that's never really what's in the best interest of profits.
Yeah.
Anecdotal, doesn't matter. Was anybody else in your family in the military? Did you just use the Navy as a way to get your pilot's license?
Yeah, no. So I got my pilot's license when I was 16 here. Again, I was flying out of a small crub dusting airport before Ankeny had an airport, just north of Ankeny. I'd mow yards all summer to make enough money to go put gas in a plane and go fly. So I had my pilot's license before I joined the Navy. The Navy was a means to an end. It is something that I wanted to do. I thought it was the pinnacle of aviation, and so therefore that's the goal I wanted to achieve. Your question, my dad, so that was during, he was going to finish med school. That was right during Vietnam. So he did volunteer and joined the Air Force for 4 years, along with my uncle and my other uncle, who went to Iowa State. He ended up going to work for the government and the CIA for a number of years, 40 years living overseas. And so I think all of those brothers had some innate national pride and civic
duty to service.
Yeah. So I don't think there was ever pressure from me to do that, but
you saw it.
I saw it, and it meant something to me. And my son's asking me about it now, and I think he feels some civic duty as well.
When you look at your son and your kids, and both your kids, boy and a girl, how do you think that your dad and mom's influence reflects in you now on how they are performing in the world?
Well, we physically and mentally, I try to beat into my children about the name that they have is not their own. They are representing me. They're representing my mom and my dad. They're representing their aunt and their uncle, and they don't just get to squander their name and their reputation on their own. That comes at an expense for entire family and generation and whatever. So you represent a lot of people. You represent people from your elementary school. You represent people. In my case, I'm representative of the Navy, or I'm representative of EMS pilots, or I don't know, but we all have somebody to represent. So anyway, that's my children. How do I do that? I say that there's a lot more riding on their reputation than just their own name and their own consequence.
When you were in the Navy, how did you get into leadership? And so I've always heard you say "my guys," and I never really understood what that meant. And I know that you flew around Navy's, like there was a bunch of Navy SEALs in the back of your helicopter.
Sure.
Like we know this, right? I don't know any particular missions, nor should we. I've heard rumors, but whatever. So I always alluded to maybe this guy was a SEAL, and like how cool that was. But explain to most importantly me what.
Well.
You climbed the ranks in the Navy, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you ended as a captain? Commander,
right.
Which is kind of a big deal. Sounds
Sure.
like a big deal.
Yeah, sure.
And you commanded what?
Well, I commanded a squadron, which had 15 helicopters and 500 some sailors in there, 50 pilots.
So how many people total?
525.
Under your command.
Yes.
So if we're going to build a tree, you're at the top, and underneath that, you're the tip of the tree, and underneath that is 550 people.
That's right.
And you did that for Jesus Christ. And I can't even manage a house.
I did that for like 3 years, and that's a very stressful 3 years.
Understood. Right.
Because anything they do, the way the military operates is, since you're the guy at the top, anything that happens is your fault.
Sure.
Right? When the ship runs into a sandbar and the captain's asleep, it's still his fault.
Yes.
Right? So when something bad happens or a bullet goes the wrong direction, even if it's 1,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away on the other side of the earth, it's still my fault.
Did you seek that out, or did that seek you out? Do you think? Do you think you just found leadership?
No.
Do you think leadership found you? Did you do the right things?
I think some people aspire to that. There's certain tickets to punch, like any career. I think only about 10% of the people in the Navy, at least, go on to be selected to command a ship, a squadron, and you have to check the right boxes and punch the tickets to get selected for that. There's a selection board that happens, and the Bureau of Personnel, and the people get together and you like a big frat party.
But you put yourself out there for that position.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You didn't shy away from it. You accepted the challenge and said, "Listen,
Yes, right.
Listen, man, we think we want you to command this whole group of people. Would you do it?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure."
Yes.
Why? How? Like what?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you?
I mean, there's a number of motivating factors. It's an honor. I mean, to be asked to do it. I mean, it's a challenge. I mean, to see like, am I capable of doing this? I don't know. And there are people who do it really well, and there's people who don't do it well.
I think that's the point I wanted to make was the high achieving people, at least the ones that I know, are always looking to level up.
Sure, yeah.
And not for their own personal gain, but for their own personal challenge.
Yeah.
So I'm quite content, people would say, of being middle management. I have my people I answer to. There's people that answer to me. I make a pretty good salary. Life's pretty good. I don't have any external challenges that are going to really force me out of my comfort zone. And that's where they live.
Sure.
And then there's people that are like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this or not, but let's find out.
Sure.
And do you think that's intrinsic?
Oh, yeah. I think that there's people that want... Yeah, I guess I learned this early on in the military. I said, well, when I was talking to enlisted sailors, like, well, why don't you want to go to this school? Or why don't you want to go put in to be an officer? Like, I'm content where I am was the answer I got a lot. I like doing what I do. My work is enjoyable. I like turning a wrench, and I'm happy doing that. I don't really aspire to be much more, and that's okay.
It sure is.
Because we certainly need people to do that. But there are other people. Why?
Do you think some of it is that people are just scared to fail?
Oh, sure it is.
Like they just have that in them where
absolutely
right. Like failure is not an option. So in order to make it not an option, I'm just not going to give it a chance.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think so too. So day to day, as the commander of 550 people, the stress of that. They all had to answer to you. If they did something wrong, you had to figure out why, and you had to. So I got them. Did they have cell phones back then? Was like this phone going nuts all the time?
I think I had 2 or 3 cell phones. The job. I mean, it was a crucible, and that's why it's a finite period.
Do they put a limit on how long you command?
Yes.
For that reason, burnout.
Yeah, that's right. And it is very stressful. I think so. I was probably in my 40s then. I knew 3 other peers that had heart attacks by that point.
Really?
Yeah. The stress is unrelenting.
Is there a measure of success in that position? That you didn't have a heart attack?
That's not
or that you got out without being asked to leave type of thing? Or what's success in that spot?
Yeah, before you turn the mic on, we talked about like you can just survive and you can get through this. And I remember making in my speech to the troops coming in is like I said, I don't merely intend to get through this next 3 years. I intend to thrive here. And there's a lot of people who just want to get through, but I made it clear with a lot of help of my leadership team as well. Like we're going to do more, faster, farther, better. We're going to continue to grow whatever's expected of us in the squadron.
You challenged your squadron to do more, better,
absolutely.
Be better.
Yep.
So let's talk about that for a second. A lot of, from what I know, people in high-ranking positions in the military, when they get in the civilian world, they start teaching leadership conferences, or they start going around corporate America and trying to tell people what it takes to be a good leader and what they need to do to their company to inspire people, and it seems like there's plenty of work out there for people that want to go around and tell people how to do better at life. In your opinion, what made in the military, and let's say you specifically, what makes a good leader?
Well, first, I think people tell you got to listen. Right? I mean, you need to listen to what your subordinates are telling you and understand it. And sometimes it's you hear just frustration, and sometimes they want to vent, and sometimes they actually have good points, like we might need to change the course of direction here, like I didn't see the impact of my decisions. So certainly listening is paramount. And understanding the finite limits of the resources you have, and the resources and what those people are capable of. Sometimes leaders, I think, overreach and expect way too much. I want to do more with less. Well, if you're already at the maximum point of efficiency, you're going to end up doing less with less. You don't get to do more with less. But if you're operating inefficiently, then maybe you can do more with less. So there's that piece of leadership. Knowing your people, right? Like I've pushed my people, I think, to the point of the brink of where they had enough. Like we were operating in like 4 continents, and my leadership team was coming to me physically and mentally exhausted. Working 7 days a week, and the phone's ringing off the hook because it's daytime in Asia, or it's daytime in the Middle East or South America or wherever guys were. So
knowing what they're capable of.
Yeah, knowing what the people are capable of, and when you've asked too much of them, and maybe need to dial it back.
When you got back off of your combat missions,
Mm-hmm.
what did it take? I can't imagine, and I don't know because I just know from books and movies and stuff. And you got a bunch of high achieving alpha males in the back of your helicopter, and you're dropping into some shithole town or city in the Middle East, and they got to go do some dirty work,
Mm-hmm.
and then they got to come back in, and you got to take them home. Like, how do you come down from that?
I don't know that it's a whole lot different than what you, and I can only say you and I, because I just drive the bus. I don't know that's a whole lot different than what you deal with. I mean, you come back from some gunshot wound or some terrible motor vehicle accident, and people are all mangled and living or not living. I mean, you see really bad stuff, and what do? You just go to bed. I mean, how do you deal with it? I mean, it's probably the same way. You compartmentalize it. You're like, tomorrow's another day.
How does being in the civilian world, like, there's no way you could ever match that, right? Like,
well, I think you can. I mean, like, this job is a pretty natural segue. We have a pretty, you and I think, and the rest of our team have a pretty good bond. It's not unlike the bond of my co-pilots, my door gunners, the operators in the back of the helicopter. We all trust one another to be professional at our job, and our job is difficult, and it's going to demand things of us long after we get home. Back to your question, what happens when we get back? Well, that mission isn't necessarily over. I mean, we sit there and analyze it and think about, could we have done better for that person? What does success look like in today's flight? Did we achieve that? Yeah, we did as best we could.
And everybody got home safe. That's got to be the end. That's got to be the end goal, right? That,
sure.
Like, if you're going to measure success,
yeah,
we didn't crash a helicopter, break something, and we took everybody back that we.
I think that's a pretty easy measure of success. I mean, people go out and come back
without ever doing the mission, probably.
Without ever doing the mission,
that's
right?
what you try. Yeah.
We also need to go out,
complete the mission, and come home.
You need to get your hands on a patient and do the most that you could ever do for that patient. Me getting there and getting you back, that's my job. But there's more to it when we do our job together, right? I mean, we need to get you there, your skills, your equipment, and we need to actually try to save somebody's life.
Listen, did you or did you not drop a photocopy machine on a terrorist house?
That did happen. That did happen.
I always, I heard that story a long time ago, and I was like, man, this is like Office Space.
PC load letter.
The guy beats the shit out of the copy machine. It finally gives him some fit. And you guys just took it to another level.
That was another level.
And just dropped it on the house of a terrorist.
That's right.
That's amazing.
That's how we started the night.
When you got out, listen, there's so much of you that I want to unpack. And we're sitting in a room right now that has a bunch of questions. Like, you have a bunch of tribal masks and tribal artifacts and an aoudad, and my feet are on a zebra rug. We're going to save it for another time.
Sure.
when you got out of the military, you came home. Was there a period of time that you just kind of like decompressed, and then you got into HEMS?
Yeah, it was about 3 months.
What was the transition?
It was about 3 months. We moved back here, and it was mentally it was a big move because we were leaving 20 years of the military behind. A lot of friends
From California.
From California. The move was from San Diego back to Des Moines, and then there was this mental departure from the military back in the civilian world, but also, Kate and I had our own questions about moving into my childhood home. My dad, I think, was ready to move out of this house. He was 80, 78, and this was a lot. My mom died, a couple decades earlier. He's been holding this house together by himself, and I think he said, if you're going to move back, do you want to buy the house? I said, yep, we'll do it. And I think there was a question of, am I moving back into my childhood home, or are we moving into a house where we're going to make our own home?
Sure.
And so, Kate and I had a lot of discussion about that. Like, we're not trying to recreate my childhood.
How old were your kids then?
Maybe in 3rd grade and 7th grade. I don't know what that is. 14 and 10.
13 and
13,
whatever.
9,
I got 4 of them. You'd think I'd know.
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
It's pretty blurry.
Yeah. So you decided to make the move back, and you're in your childhood home. It's
Yep.
a beautiful, what I assume, a colonial home.
Sure.
It's got all the character you would think, and still the tennis court in the backyard from where you played.
That's right.
And so then your kids played.
Right, yeah. So, but they were playing long before that. They played when we lived in San Diego. There was a city park next to the house, so we would go play tennis all the time as a family.
How'd you get into the HEMS then? So I remember hearing one day that we had a new pilot starting. His name was Kit, and I was like, man, that's an unusual name. And then it might have been JoJo that said, well, his name is probably Christopher. That's short for Kit. And I was like, I don't know, man. My dad's name was Christopher. I don't ever remember anyone saying Kit. Is Kit a common?
It is short for Christopher. Is it common? I don't know. Kit Carson. There was a senator from Missouri, Kit Bond.
Was Kit Carson's real name Christopher?
I think so.
Oh, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I just figured you were named after him or something.
I'm not.
I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, it's just unique. And I was like, oh, my dad's name's Christopher. And nobody ever uttered the word Kit. So
Yep.
it was fortuitous that you live in Des Moines and that a spot opened up in our program at that time.
That's right. There was one across the street at Life Flight as well, and
There was.
I
was just about to say, like, how lucky we were that it was only for our program and that we got you.
Well, how lucky it was for me to have you.
I don't know. Like, that's fair. Sure.
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
The company didn't want me. Des Moines, I don't think was a difficult fill, so they tried to get me to go to Fort Dodge and maybe Knoxville. I don't remember what other jobs were open. There happened to be a few openings. And I said, no, I'm going to live in Des Moines. I'm going to work in Des Moines. I'll just wait till I have an opening. And so we moved back and spent a couple months remodeling the house and, put the application in and back into the Air Methods. And they said, yeah, okay, we got an opening at Mercy in Des Moines. I said, great, sounds fun. I'll do it.
Did you know anything about the program at the time?
Nothing. Didn't know anything about EMS. Didn't know anything about the program. I knew a little bit about helicopters. I said, I can probably make it work.
You know a thing or two. And you've been with the program how long?
This is my 8th year.
Jesus.
Time goes fast, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. In a Bell 429. When you were in the military, you flew H-60s, Blackhawks.
We call them Seahawks.
Seahawks, sure.
Same.
There was a pilot regimen. Is this true? In Vietnam called the Sea
Wolves?
Yes.
Right.
Is that true?
That is true. So that was the precursor to the squadron I was in Iraq. That name changed to the Red Wolves. And they also created a second squadron, which was the Firehawks. And there's a whole history.
I know. And that's it's so
There's
interesting. It's a lot. We're sitting here nodding our heads like, you are certainly the expert. I am an amateur when it comes to wartime things, but just Vietnam itself, which I'm catching myself up on now, just shit. Terrible. In a lot of different ways. When the Sea Wolves were flying around, were they in Hueys?
They were in Hueys, yeah.
So that's the same company that makes our helicopter, the Bell 429. I don't really know where I'm going with that, other than if everybody remembers MASH, which was a Korean War, which was the precursor to Vietnam. if you saving, we were soldiers. They flew the Hueys down a lot.
Right, yep.
That's what a Huey is. So for the people listening, if you want to know what a Bell Huey is, it's the doors are open. They medevac people. They throw them basically into that thing and they pull pitch and they go. Sometimes they need a running start,
Right.
And they get out of there. That's the same company out of Texas that builds our Bell 429, which by my small experience, I've flown in 3 helicopters in my life: a 429, 407, and a 135, a Eurocopter. Your experience with the 429, it's a pretty good helicopter.
It's a great helicopter.
Isn't it though? It's pretty sweet.
It really is. It's fast. It's easy to fly. I mean, one of my colleagues is at Bell, and so we talk a lot about it. He's a test pilot at Bell, was a test pilot in the Navy, and so we talk regularly about how to make things better.
Yeah. When you flew the H-60, it was armed,
Yes.
and you were in command of those
Yes.
weapons.
Yeah.
Pilot and co-pilot all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Here, you're by yourself.
Right. That's different.
Sure, but is the software and the controls, obviously the helicopter goes up and down and goes left and right the same way.
Same.
But does it set you up better to be by yourself? Like everything in an H-60, I assume, is redundant as well. Twin engine.
Right, but what's not redundant is the decision making.
Okay.
Right. So we can automate a lot of things, but we can't automate the decision making. So when I make a decision, there's no one else to run that by, aviation wise, right? I get to ask you, hey, do you think we should go? Should we not go? I don't know, it's pretty bad out there. When you have another pilot sitting next to you, it allows you to have some redundancy in your decision making.
Sure. Validation.
Yeah.
Have you ever been, and I think I already know this, I think I already know the answer to this. Have you ever made a decision and your co-pilot says, listen, man, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right play.
I'm sure I have. I've got to really dig through my archive of bad decisions to think about which one that is. But, yeah, I'm sure I have. I can't.
When that happens, so what the point I'm getting to is like leadership is humble, right? I just got done listening to a podcast with Tulsi Gabbard. Whatever you think of her I don't care.
Sure.
But the point, she brings up a good point when it comes to leadership, is that the whole point of being a leader is to serve the people that you lead.
Absolutely.
Right? And not be so narcissistic that your way is the only way and that you're not open to ideas and that you're not open to suggestions. But when that happens, your ego takes a hit. And if you're a high level performer and you've gotten to a certain point because you performed at a very high level, and then somebody comes along and says, hey man, I don't think you're right, and here's why, and how that can downward spiral into just a terrible relationship and a terrible outcome.
Yes.
Like, your personality doesn't lend to that. Like, you're, okay, let's talk about this. Why did you come to that, right? And you think that's an effective way. Like, not everybody can have their own way all the time. Like, sometimes you have to say, no, I'm sorry, this is the way we do it, and here's why we do it, versus, yeah, let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah, I suspect, interesting point about the ego. I never really thought about it, but I suppose that, my ego, I can just speak for me, has probably got me to my position of leadership, but those leadership decisions were I really tried hard to be very objective about that decision, whether that was just being the pilot of my helicopter or being in command of squadron and people. My ego had no part in that decision, and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? You need to remove yourself from that situation. What is best for the mission? What is best for the outcome here?
Is it all objective information that comes into making that decision, or is there some sort of subjective information where you're like, you know what, I know in my gut, in my heart of hearts, I can make that turn, or I can make this mission happen? Like, is there a certain size of balls it takes to be like, listen, I'm going to pull pitch on this thing, and I know that the statistics say that I have a 50-50 chance, but I'm gonna be on the right side of 50.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know if that's subjective or just my past experience saying, I know I am capable of. I know what this aircraft is capable of, based on my professional experience. Subjective, maybe. Egotistical, I hope not, because that's where people get into trouble.
I was going to ask you, where do you think in our industry, HEMS, poor outcomes, and I don't mean patient outcomes, I mean fatal crashes. What is there a common denominator? I mean, I know we just had one in Oklahoma that was an outlier, and that kind of scares me a little bit that our helicopter is vulnerable to that point where that could have happened, but that's an outlier. In the HEMS industry, when we have crashes and we have incidences, do you think there's a common denominator? Do you think?
Well, everybody loves to point to pilot error because ultimately, like we've alluded to before, when you're in command, it's your responsibility. So if your engines quit and you end up crashing, that's still the pilot's problem for not making a better auto-rotational emergency landing. But I don't know. Sometimes it's bad luck. I mean, sometimes there's bird strikes at night, and that's just bad luck. Poor decision making, maybe. Some of those things could have been avoided, before those helicopters ever left the ground.
Extrinsic factors like pressure from people to make money, from people to get numbers up. Do you think it's like an ego?
Maybe
pilot. Yeah, and everybody. This is anecdotal too, which everything I do in life is just my own experience. It seems like if a tourist helicopter in Mount Rushmore crashed and killed an entire family, like you would hear about it in the news, and it would be and that it is a tragedy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying. But if we go down tomorrow, I feel like the sentiment is, they knew the risks.
It happens.
Yeah, it just seems like it's part of HEMS. It's just
the industry doesn't have a great reputation. There is a certain pressure to fly. It's easy for us to say, well, somebody's life is on the line. Well, so is ours.
Yeah.
Right? I think sometimes people forget that.
But I also felt like it was a little, and I think some from my own immaturity when I first started was, but isn't everything, I'm safer up there than I am on the ground? Do crashes really happen, or does it just happen to other people? Right?
Sure.
I have never once gotten in that helicopter and said, man, I don't know about this. This seems real weird, and I don't know how it's going to go down. But I'm sure everybody that crashed probably felt that way at a time, and I don't know. It's just interesting how I don't know how to phrase this. We take so much for granted when we get into that thing, and you say pilot accepts, and we say, okay, we'll get in that son of a bitch and let's go do some cool stuff. Never once have I ever thought, you know what, on this one I got a weird feeling that I ain't coming back from. But it happens. Mm-hmm. We don't in our industry talk about it enough, probably, because if it was a civilian aircraft, it'd be all over the news. And in our industry, it seems like it's a blurb. It's like HEMS helicopter crashes in Oklahoma. Here's why. Carry on about your life.
Yeah, a lot of that comes down to culture too, and I don't mean in HEMS particular, but there's probably a lot of bases where pilots and the crews don't know each other that well. You and I know each other very well, and I think that if there was something questionable, you would feel comfortable questioning that.
I remember probably one of the first times we flew together. I seriously, I thought our skid was going to hit some chimneys. I thought.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, well, listen,
sure.
This is my story.
Okay.
This is my interpretation.
That's how you saw it.
This is how I saw it. I remember looking down and just the earth just screaming by at 1,000 miles an hour. And I was like, hey, man, we going to stay like this the whole flight? Because I feel like I could just hop on somebody's roof right here. Obviously, you have minimums that you can't go below a certain number of feet. But for you, it was very comfortable down there.
Sure.
And for where we come from in this, most people were comfortable higher. And that was just an interesting, I don't know, sorry, man, this is just kind of how I do it in the Navy.
That's where I came from, I guess.
Yeah, we're busy dropping shit on terrorist houses, and I don't know how to go any higher. So it was just funny to me. We have about 15 minutes left. And again, there's a lot to unpack with you. Interestingly, you've been all over the world. I tease you about it a lot, you just getting back from your trip down the Amazon every week.
I've actually never been to the Amazon.
Clearly your home is full of memories. Everybody loves a good war story. Do you have one in your military that sticks out of whether it was a success or failure, I don't care. I think that a lot of time we focus on a lot of successes, and those are happy endings, and we love them, and they're good stories. But I think more often than not, we kind of screw up. We kind of figure it out by doing that. Do you have a story that goes either way? Obviously, this has got to be unclassified.
Yeah, sure. I kept a journal every day I deployed for however many years, 15 years, of all those flights I did. Some were over the ocean, like I said, dragging submarines, somewhere in the middle of Iraq. And I thought about going back through those and reading them. Like, those have the names and each mission, what we did, and my feelings before and after. And I haven't really bothered to go back through them. Do I have any mission that sticks out in mind? I don't. War stories are best told out after we have a few beers, I suppose.
Sure.
I don't. The coffee probably isn't enough for me to do that. I there's just none that stick out of my mind. Like,
it's interesting that you say that, because I look back at my 20 years, and I can remember a few that stick out, but for the most part, like, of all the shit that we've seen,
that's a great question.
They all say, if somebody asked me, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Is that because that's because we're sticking them back in our head and they're going to manifest them?
Yeah, I don't know that I have like repressed memories that, any day I'm going to have some post-traumatic.
Or because we just do it so often every day that, like, it's a question I have with me for a long time. I've had of myself for a long time. 20 years, I feel like I'm doing well. I feel like mentally I'm in a good place. Right. Physically I'm in a good place. And I know that so many people with shorter careers don't experience that. And then, so I'm like basically sitting here waiting for my turn to do how it manifested in the way that's going to manifest. Or am I just doing a really good job of mitigating the stress level of my job? I don't know the answer to that. But if you were to ask me, hey man, could you give me a story from your 20 years that really sticks out? I could probably come up with one or two. But they may not be the most interesting thing I've done.
Right.
Or the worst thing I've seen. And I don't know.
That's exactly where I don't know that these stories would entertain your audience. But a lot of it too, Jason, I think is I don't have any regrets.
Yeah. Right.
When we come back from going out to get a patient, I think as professionals we're like, could we have done better? Did I do everything I could do in my capability with what I had? And largely, I look back and say, yes, I did. I don't have regrets on should we have done that mission, not done that mission, should we have executed it that way? Is there a better way to have done it? So I think that's probably part of the reason it's hard for us to go back and be like, that was a bad one because I didn't do something I could have done.
Favorite place you've ever been in the world? Number one.
Oh, my backyard.
Number two.
And I said,
I appreciate that answer because my favorite place is my house.
I love going away.
Yeah.
But more than going away, I love coming home.
Yeah.
Right? And then you spend enough time away. And, you say, hey, earlier you said in this podcast, you said, hey, in our job, we do it 24. Well, when you think about it, I do work 24 hours a day or 12 hours a day, but I do work 6 months out of the year. Like, you're gone. Like, when you do your 24 in Knoxville, you're gone. And so you get to come home and fix the screen window or whatever the next day. It's not like you're gone for 6 months, but you are gone for 6 months. You are gone for a long period of time. So don't dismiss the fact that we just do all-nighters or double shifts, and there's things you're missing at home.
Missed a second grade choir concert last night, which
that's something.
I've seen a lot of choir concerts, but it's still something.
It is something. So I go away. I see a lot of cool things. I take vacations. Sometimes it's for work. Sometimes it's for pleasure. But in the end, best place is coming home.
I can tell you there was a time where I used to look forward to going to work because it was the least chaotic part of it was the part of my environment I knew how to manage. If you gave me a real sick person and a good partner and a good pilot, we're gonna make that shit smell good,
yep.
Right? But at home, I had no idea.
Yeah, you walk in the door, you don't know what's coming.
No. And if it did come, I didn't know how to handle it.
Sure.
I say I handled it well a lot of the times. Did you find that?
Without a doubt.
The same
I
deal?
mean, we go to work, there's protocols. I have checklists, you have protocols. We're gonna go, it's fairly rote. We know what we can do, and we go out and we do it. And when you come back home and you open that door, you don't know what drama transpired with your family during the day, but you're gonna have to deal with it.
Right. Would you say you've gotten better at it as
Well,
you've aged?
I don't, maybe.
Or do you think that we just got to a certain point where it's just different?
It's just different.
It's just...
I think we realize as you get older and mature, you realize some things are important and some things aren't.
Because I'm still tired when I come home.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I still sometimes lose my shit.
Yeah.
And I still sometimes say things that I normally probably wouldn't have said in a kind of a dickish way. But I'm certainly more aware of it. I don't know if that counts.
It does, because if you came home and you didn't do that, it means you didn't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? You come home and you have those visceral reactions because you do care. And if you didn't, that'd be a problem.
Yeah, that's fair. What's number 2?
Oh, travel?
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know. I do like going to far, remote places. I really enjoy being in Africa because it's very real. It's very simple living, and you really get to appreciate humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have a certain kind of mindset to let that in, though, right? And to be like, listen, that big thing I thought was at home is not such a big thing.
Right.
Like, yeah, I get it. Do you feel like every day? I know I feel this way. Like every day I have to wake up and I have to be like, listen, I have to like consciously think of some way to be a better person today because I have such visceral responses to things, and how I make something big out of something little.
Sure.
And this job kind of changes that a little bit when you see something tragic. Like my big thing is I know that my children are not adverse to, they're not immune from tragedy, right? And I have a hard time going home, not being anxious of the fact that something bad will happen to my kid. But I find like now as I get older, I look at them and smile more inside to be like,
I hope.
Right? And like, because this is one of those little moments.
Yeah.
And that if this were to leave me right now, what kind of a different place I'd be in right now. And knowing that it could come.
Yes. And we see it every day, right?
Right. Does that...
Oh, yeah,
when your kids go out into the world, are you like, hey, listen, wear your seatbelt?
Yeah.
Just whatever little...
coming back into this job, and like you said, you've done it for 20 years. I've only done it for 8, but it has opened my eyes to the world of bad drivers, distracted drivers, drugs, guns, just bad people and bad timing, and there's a lot of things that are not in our capability to control, but there are a lot of things that are.
You think overseas it was good versus evil, and back here it's more just human versus human, like just not...
It did dawn on me when I was deployed, like life is pretty easy when you are deployed. Your laundry's taken care of for you, your meals are taken care of for you. All you have to do is go do your job, come home, and it's done, right? And life is pretty simple, and I think that there's a number of people who like that lifestyle, all the while forgetting that you do have a real life back at home. You do have children, you do have a spouse back home, and that the world is turning with or without you.
Yeah. Puts things in perspective, I think, sometimes too. Listen, man, we're at 55 minutes. I appreciate you letting me into your home for 1 minute. Everything you say it is. Your wife is everything you say she is. And we need to do it again because we need to talk about some big game hunts.
Yep.
And we need to talk about some more life philosophy. We need to talk more about...
When you talk about you, I want to interview you on your podcast.
Oh, you do?
I do.
That would be a flip.
That would be great. I think we need to do that.
We can certainly make that happen. I appreciate the espresso.
Yeah, sure.
For coming off a long 24.
Yeah, Jason just coming off of 24, flying all night, and then came over here to my house to do this. So there's...
And I'm going to go back to work tonight.
Yeah.
I hope I can mitigate some fatigue a little bit in between that. But for the most part, good conversation.
Yeah,
let's have more of it.
Please do.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason.
Hey, everybody. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Shift Change Podcast. As always, look for updates on our Instagram page at talk.shiftchange on Instagram, and email me with any questions, problems, concerns at talkshiftchange@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone.